Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our virtual open house for our BSMS programs in the Department of Mathematical Sciences. So there's a number of us on this call today. So I'm Sarah Olson, the graduate coordinator, and we'll go through a round of quick introductions.
Hello, my name is Luca Capogna. I'm a professor here at WPI and I'm currently the department head for mathematical sciences.
Marcel, you're up.
Hi, I'm Marcel Blaise. I'm the associate department head, associate teaching professor. I've been here for about 15 years, and I coordinate the financial math program, but also I kind of help students plan for their BSMS studies for, in addition to financial math, applied math, and industrial math.
I'll go. I'm John Abraham. I'm the coordinator of the actuarial math program, which is an undergraduate program, but we've had a fair number of students go through that program with an eye towards adding a master's in financial mathematics. So I've had a lot of practice with setting students up to get their schedule to work between those two degrees. I don't know a lot about the other master's degree programs, but some little bits. So.
I guess I'll go next. Agata LaJoy with Graduate Admissions, and I will be answering some of the more general questions about the application process for the BSMS program, and also how the tuition incentive works, if any of you have questions in that regard as well. Thank you.
I'll go after Agata because everything she just said is the same for me. My name is Mary Spencer and I work in graduate admissions, graduate studies. I'm not sure what we are right now, but we are here to answer any general questions, and anytime you send an email to the grad box, one of the two of us is going to be the one answering your emails. So now you can put a face with the name.
I'll go next. Rhonda Podell. I'm the operations manager for the Mathematical Sciences Department, and I assist the department head, Luca Capogna, and the associate department head, Marcel Blaise, as well as the rest of the faculty, and managing the logistics and operations of our department. Thanks, John.
And is Emily still?
Yes. So hi everyone. I'm Emily, and I'm a current BSMS student. So I just graduated my undergrad in December. And my undergrad was in actuarial math with Professor Abraham. And then, so I'm here if you have like questions on what the course for the master program is like. Oh, and my master program major is financial math.
Okay, great. I think we have all the introductions. Okay, so I wanted to say kind of briefly, many of you are math majors already, or Mac majors, but there's maybe a few people who are kind of double majors and maybe haven't been as involved in the department, but I just wanted to say that as you continue through a master's program, we have lots of seminar series and lots of activities in the department, some of which may become more interesting if you're doing kind of the master's programs, research opportunities, industry panels, talks with different industry representatives. And we also have the Center for Industrial Mathematics and Statistics, SIMS, which also kind of helps with some industry-sponsored projects, again, gaining more experience to hit the job market. And these are some of our current graduate students who you may have already know and interact with. Most of them are serving as TAs and are very involved in our department. And again, just to summarize, we'll go over a little bit more of the program details, but we have a number of master's programs, including applied math, stats, financial math, industrial mathematics, and mathematics for educators. So we have a few different options to think about in terms of joining on with the master's program. Okay, Marcel and John, you want to maybe?
Sure. So one common thing that is done as a BSMS student is there's some double counting. So there are some courses you take that will count both towards undergraduate degree requirements and graduate degree requirements. And you'll see this set up in different ways across the different master's programs. But the main gist of it is that you can take 4,000 level or higher courses in math, or actually in other disciplines, and count them towards the graduate degree requirements. You will see that the key thing to keep in mind is the exchange rate between undergraduate units and graduate credits. And the way it works is one undergraduate course, so a typical undergrad course of 1/3 unit, is 2 graduate credits. And a typical graduate course is 3 credits. So you have to be a bit careful with the way you're doing this, but because of that, it's very common that students are taking 3 undergraduate courses, which count towards 2 graduate courses for their degree. And again, you'll hear more about the specifics for each program because each has its own kind of special caveats. But it's important to recognize that you do have to have a B or better for a course to count for both programs.
Okay, and I think the one other thing that I was saying here with the AP credits is that, you know, if you're thinking about trying to do the BSMS in a compact period of time, having AP credit really does kind of allow you to maybe start taking some of the upper level courses a little bit earlier. It allows a little bit more flexibility to, you know, some courses are offered at the same time, so you have to do a bit of planning to, if it's only offered in the fall, to get it in with your undergraduate and graduate requirements.
To follow up on that, the key to successful BSMS BSMS studies is planning. And the issue, one of the main issues there is, unlike undergraduate courses, some graduate courses at WPI have strict prerequisites. And prerequisite courses tend to run in the fall. So you may find yourself really having to try to get key courses in the fall of, say, junior or senior year, because you may have spring courses that require those. And that's really why you have to be planning. And in particular, I realize that this is probably not an issue this fall, but if you were to, say, be away for an MQP in A term or B term, that can prevent you from getting a semester-long class in the fall. Pre-pandemic. Now I think things being online and hybrid, that's not going to be as much of an issue, but nonetheless, the key thing is to plan. You need to make sure to be getting those grad courses that are prerequisites for other courses.
Okay, so why a BSMS? Of course, it's great. You can kind of do it in that compact period of time with a little bit of double counting and cleverly kind of planning your courses. It's done. You hit the job market with the master's. In general, higher starting salary, kind of additional job opportunities, different companies, job titles. I was going back through some of the career data that's on the CDC. I think standard actuarial is about 70,000 now, mathematical science 80,000 for bachelors. Unfortunately, some of our recent master's graduates have not reported their salaries, but using kind of national survey data in general, the master's salaries are much higher. And these are some of kind of the job titles. So if you're looking at kind of job postings, what you could get that might require a master's, these are quite often what our recent master's graduates, their job titles. And there's this great, if you do a search for SciAm Careers in Applied Math, there's a great kind of brochure PDF that gives spotlights to students that have graduated in the recent past, kind of their career paths, what their job description is, what they do with their kind of recent salaries. So that's a great little kind of 5-page, 10-page booklet to take a look at. Okay, so we went through and kind of looked at some of our recent graduates, and these are, we can give you access to these slides and there'll be a recording posted of this, but these are some recent companies that have hired our students from Applied Stats. We've also had some population of students go on to successful PhD programs, so you can use the master's to kind of figure out if you, kind of what your next career path is, but a lot of different companies here. We have another slide for kind of financial math, more of the Fidelity, Bloomberg, JP Morgan. This is just a snapshot of a few companies that have hired our students, and similarly for applied and industrial math. MITRE, Dell, MathWorks, which is in Natick, so close by, and also hires a number of our students in the past. Okay, so there are a few additional things to think about in terms of planning and I guess graduate courses in general, but I guess Emily or Marcel, would either of you like to say a little bit about kind of our graduate courses in mathematical sciences more generally?
Sure, I can say a little bit. Typically, classes meet either one night per week for about 3 hours, or 2 times per week for an hour, 20 minutes, something like that each. And it's important to recognize that there's no NRs for graduate courses. So the grades are the A, B, C, D, or F. And as I mentioned before, the exchange is 3 grad credits, which is 1 graduate class, is half a unit, which is 1.5 undergraduate courses. Emily, you can probably talk more about what it's like to take these, I think, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, I can do that. So for my BSMS, I actually started taking the grad classes during my 2nd semester in my junior year, and I must admit I was skipping the prerequisite for that class of mine, but then I was able to do that because I had taken a actuarial exam that has like related topics, so I had some prerequisites from the exam about the course material. And basically the master courses, I would say, are pretty different from the ones I've taken for undergrad. My undergrad was in actual math, and the financial math program, the courses are a lot more either theoretical based or a lot more project based. So it's kind of definitely the material is more challenging. So for example, the financial math classes, the 571 and 572, they give you the theoretical background for the financial math models and the materials, and then the course 575 for credit risk that I'm taking right now with Professor Blaze, that is very project based. So we have many projects going on right now, and then so it definitely involves a lot more. It definitely takes a lot more time, and then a lot more familiarity with different programs to use for math models, and also how the models are derived. So yeah.
And thank you, Emily. Yeah, so Emily is in my class now, and they have some pretty hefty project work due before the semester's over. But one thing to keep in mind when you take graduate courses in mathematical sciences, it helps you to level up in your mathematical abilities, mathematical maturity, and your mathematical knowledge. So that extra year for the BSMS program actually does a lot for you as a mathematician.
I wanted to add, in fact, that in mathematics, you start to build a lot of vocabulary to understand what is really mathematics. And by the time you finish your bachelor degree, you basically just started to figure out what is the right kind of mathematics that people use in the workforce today. And then to really get a grasp of what you need to know in mathematics to make an impact in industry or in company or even in academia, you do need to take graduate courses. That's where you start to see real mathematics, living mathematics that people use on an everyday basis.
Okay. So I think next we're going to walk through kind of quickly each of the different programs and give you a flavor of kind of the breakdown of the degree requirements, starting with financial.
Okay, so for financial math, this is laid out pretty nicely. You can see the top left, we have the core courses. 571 is required, and you have to pick up 3 of the other 4. Then you have 2 foundation courses, and the ones we really recommend are the 528, 529 sequence. Because realistically, a lot of modern day financial math is built on measured theoretic probability and stochastic processes. Then in the next row, you have 2 non-math electives, which is discussed a little bit more on the next slide. You have your capstone requirement and 1 math elective. That math elective, by the way, is often, if you go back to that top left, people often use the one that they didn't use. So the 5th one of those 4 for the math elective. We then have a seminar that goes over things like, you have to do it 1 fall, 1 spring, Math 562. It's things like interview skills, job search skills, email etiquette, this kind of stuff. And then the Math 500, the basic real analysis, if you're a math or an actuarial major, that would not apply to you. But we essentially, for all the master's programs, require real analysis essentially at the level of 3831. And so if you were not majoring in math and you wanted to do one of these master's degrees, you might be required to take that Math 500. And then the out-of-department courses, these are just a few, but typically students are taking courses in either the business school, the computer science department, or in data science. And every semester I look over all the courses that are good candidates to share with financial math students, and there are many. So this gives you some space, so 20% of your degree requirement to study some material in a complementary field. And then the capstone project, you have 3 choices. You can do a master's project, and that's when you work with a professor on some type of research project or some type of a really applied project. Think of that kind of like the graduate version of an MQP. You can do a practicum. That's a little bit less popular. That's the situation where someone has an internship that qualifies as a capstone project. But the bar is kind of high for that. It has to be fairly quantitative in nature. And then the other option is to take an enhanced version of one of those 4 listed courses with extra project work as a capstone project. John, I think this one is you.
Yeah, this actually is a different summary. This is something that I'd put together for the actuarial majors who are considering the financial math degree, and it really is the same information that Marcel talked through, just in a different kind of layout, highlighting that you need 30 graduate credits for the degree and breaking it down into some pieces there. And I don't have quite all the requirements, but this is sort of a typical path. The arrows suggest a prerequisite relationship that you ought to take things in that kind of order. And I have the courses showing currently where they're being offered fall and spring. So that can be helpful in your planning process. If you know you need a certain course, you better be here in the fall or the spring that it's offered. If you're going to try to get done in 5 years. So I have not much else to say about this because you covered it well, I think.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. But yeah, again, what's really nice is this one says 3831, then okay, then you're probably ready for 528, and the 3631 is a prereq. So that's has been helpful to many students before. Yeah, so what do we just have a list of some current capstones? Do we want to say anything about these, I guess?
I advised one of these with Professor Sturm. You can see the one with Anastasia. And that was a really cool project that was sponsored by a company in Marlborough named Sidewalk, where they were doing models of ad impression markets. So if you log into a web page and you see an ad, before that ad is shown to you, a little box called an ad impression is made. That box goes to an auction, and on that auction, companies bid on it. And it's in a quirky type of auction, and then the one who wins then has to choose from their clients an ad to put there, and that's what you see when you look at the web page. And so they were working on some very cool mathematical models for making optimal bids for this company. It was a neat project.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly go over degree requirements for some of our other programs. They're kind of all boxed out similarly, so a lot of them are going to have kind of some core courses, some other required courses. All of our master's programs are going to require some type of capstone experience, maybe an out-of-department elective, a seminar, etc. Again, the real analysis is really if you've taken our 38, 31, 38, 32 sequence and done well in that, that's not going to be part of your degree requirement. So for the applied math, it's going to be 503, which is kind of a more in-depth of 38, 31, and 38, 32. So it's an analysis type course, and then we have 510, which is a numerical analysis course, so it's lots of computing, error, and approximations. Then we have kind of one kind of more pure or discrete math option, either discrete math or algebra, which rotate every fall which one is being offered. So if you're more interested in one, you want to maybe plan it so that you can take the course of interest. We have a graduate seminar, again, also goes through things like how to read papers, effective communication, a little bit of a project and some presentations. And then we have an out-of-department electives and some mathematical sciences electives. Just to say that we have a number of different math electives that you could take. If you're more interested in the discrete math version, you could kind of do a second course in that or a third course. We have a number of different computing courses. We have, joint with the data science program, we have statistical methods for data sciences. So there's many options when you're doing the applied math degree to kind of carve it into something that you're more interested in and could potentially pair well for kind of your future job. And again, common out-of-department choices for the electives quite often are kind of the CS courses with the deep learning, machine learning, bioinformatics, things like that. Similarly, for applied math, we have these capstone experiences, also can do a project or a thesis, you can do master's exams, but I think you want to talk to some different advisors, do a lot of planning, get a good sense of what you want this capstone experience to be, and it could be focusing more on theory, methodology, computation, kind of whatever's a better fit for your interests. The industrial mathematics degree is very similar to the applied math, of course with more of an industry focus. Again, it has the same core courses. You have a few different foundational courses, some of which are the same as the applied math one. You have out-of-departmental electives, but the setup is a little bit different here. We have what we call a 4-course module. So for example, if you're interested in fluid dynamics, you would take some courses in the math department related to fluids, and then you could also take some kind of corresponding courses in mechanical engineer that paired well with that theme, or materials or dynamics, optimization, control. So you kind of pick a theme and then you build up a set of 4 courses with the help of your advisor and get those approved as kind of your module, and that's your area of expertise that you have from kind of the mathematical and the out-of-departmental side. The other big difference here is the industry project. That is your capstone, but it is going to be an industry-themed project, quite often sponsored by a different industry company. So some recent projects here, we've had kind of more of the standard applied math projects, but we've also had some industry sponsors, Air Force Research Lab for one last spring. We had one from Paul Corporation. So there's been a variety of different sponsors. We also have the Center for Industrial Mathematics and Statistics that works with these companies to get these projects. And if you want to look at other previous projects, the SIMS website also has a long list of different projects.
Just one quick thing to add. Mm-hmm. So both the industrial math and the financial math are professional science masters or PSM programs. So they are both designed to prepare you for industry jobs, although you still can go for a PhD afterwards. That's why we have this industrial requirement. But along those lines, you also have to do the seminar, the Math 562 fall and spring, the professional skills seminar for this.
Thanks. And another program that we're going to outline in detail is our statistics program. Again, there's going to be 2 core courses, mathematical probability and stats 1 and 2, and then we're going to have what we call kind of 2 core design and analysis courses. There's a separate statistics graduate seminar, optional elective, also a capstone, and a number of statistics electives. I would say with the applied math degree, you can take some stats courses as your math electives. In the applied statistics program, your stats electives are, I guess, all very much statistical in nature. You can do some stochastic modeling. You can do kind of the data sciences, statistical methods for data science. But we have a large number of graduate statistics courses to take for your statistics electives. And again, I'm going to fly through this, but just to say capstone experience, there's some small different variations, but similar to the other programs. Some of these projects are industry, some are not. So some here have been sponsored by, a healthcare industry company, statistics and process development, and then we've had some kind of more research or kind of a graduate level MQP project related to p-values and image analysis. Okay, so I guess we'll certainly do a lot of question and answer for anyone who has questions. Hopefully there's some in the chat box. But to emphasize again, we've gone over a few of these programs. Here I've kind of put some names I didn't go over the Mathematics for Educators. We have a master's program, but Professor John Boulet would be happy to answer any questions about those programs. If you have things in particular, specific class combinations after this, Professor Paris would be happy to chat with you, and we have Professors Abraham and Blaise online now. So there's kind of specific ones of us that you can reach out to, but you can reach out to pretty much any one of us. I believe, right, the graduate catalog has more information, and I think the BSMS applications are still due by July 1st. And then I have a slide here about graduate costs in finance. If anyone, Agata, can you go over that one briefly?
Sure. So as of last week, we were informed that any graduate student can take classes at a 20% discount. So the 20% is per course. Also, any current students who are not yet transitioning to the graduate program can take summer classes at 50% off. Mary Spencer, who's my colleague here on this information session, she may have more information about how the 50% works, because I'm still trying to wrap my head around the whole units versus credits. But
yeah, so yeah, I don't fully understand that either. But in a nutshell, the way this works is if you are still coded an undergraduate student this summer, then any courses that you take, so whether they be undergraduate or graduate courses, you will get a 50% discount. If you right now are a senior and you're about to graduate in a few weeks, once you graduate, once you get your bachelor's degree and you switch over to a master's degree student, then you would be eligible for the Alumni Incentive Program, which is the 20% discount. So just as you're planning your next steps and things like that, 2 different ways to think about saving some money while you're taking these classes.
And this is a pilot program, we were told, so this is only good so far for this summer and upcoming academic year.
And then I also just wanted to add briefly, if you are interested in kind of a government or industry job, there are fellowships and scholarships that are out there. I mentioned one here, the SMART Scholarship, which is actually for masters, undergraduates, you can apply to it. So if you're kind of younger, if you're already a senior or junior, it may be hard to apply, but sophomores and juniors can even apply for a portion of their undergraduate as well as their master's tuition. The caveat with that is for every year of scholarship you get to pay for your academics, then you have to work for a government lab or industry for that amount of time. So, but if you're interested in going into that area of work, it's a great opportunity to have your education paid for with guaranteed a job when you graduate for a certain number of years. Okay, so I guess we'll open it up for questions. You can ask questions directly in the chat box, or I think we have a small enough group that if anyone wants to, feels comfortable, they can unmute themselves and go ahead and ask questions.
There are no questions in the chat box yet, so.
So I guess
don't be shy.
Keep going here regarding the application itself. So WPI students and alumni do not have to pay the application fee. It is waived. It's normally $70 for everyone else, but our own students do not have to pay this fee. You are also not required to provide test scores such as GREs. And if you are a current WPI student who is an international student, you do not have to provide your TOEFL IELTS test scores. Some departments even waive the letters of recommendation. I believe math requires them. And Sarah, please correct me if I'm wrong.
We require them, but if anyone's having issues getting letters or if that is a concern, they can please reach out to me and we can work with the students.
So the application itself is it's straightforward. It's online. You can go to grad.wpi.edu. That's our website for graduate admissions. There's a red box that says apply now. All you have to do is click on that button and start your application. You don't have to submit it the same day you start on it. You can save it and return to it. And you can, however, you can submit it as you await letters of recommendation from your professors and maybe industry managers if you have had a job and you wish to share a letter of recommendation from someone from the industry.
We also pull your transcript for you as well, so you don't even need to ask for the transcript to be sent from the registrar's office. Once you say that you're a WPI student, we pull that right for you, so it's one less thing for you to have to think about to complete your application.
What deadline did you say it was, and how does that tie into where you are with your undergraduate degree?
Well, it's sort of a two-part answer. So for this year, in our unprecedented time that we're all living through right now, the deadline has been extended for anybody who is a senior right now until July 1st to complete their application. So if you get your application in, anytime before July 1st or around July 1st, we'll try to get a real fast turnaround time on that decision for you so that you can figure out your next steps for the fall. For anybody else, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, you actually have a little bit more time. What we usually ask is that the applications be submitted either in the summer or early fall of your junior year. You all can correct me in the department if I'm wrong, but in general, we usually say around that time so that a decision can be made and you can start taking classes and sort of be in the program and know what you're supposed to do for next steps. So it's usually, I would say, between sophomore and junior year. I don't know, Marcel, if that's different, if you have a different thought on that, but.
It's usually, junior year is a good time to do it. General, essentially because the graduate admissions committee needs to see the real analysis coursework at that level to be able to make a decision.
Right. And the whole idea is to be able to have everything in place to double count those classes your senior year. So if you can be admitted in your junior year, you know your next steps.
Great, thank you.
And it's important to remember that the big thing that eats up time with an application is the recommendations. So you have to have recommendations from 3 faculty members. And faculty members are happy to do it. We all write letters of recommendation every year. I've written as many as 20 in a year. That's a tough year. But basically, you want to give some lead time because you want faculty members who are recommending you to have some time to actually write a thoughtful and a well-written letter for you.
We actually just got a question. I think it was sent to me privately, but I'm going to answer it for everybody. The question was just where to go to find the application, which Agata had mentioned before. So if you go to the graduate admissions page, there's a big red box that says apply now. If you click on that box and start the application, the way you answer the questions is the way your application is going to move with requirements and things like that. So if you go to that webpage, click on apply now, open an application, and just say you're interested in the BSMS, that will put you through the right track to get you to that sort of pared down version of the graduate application.
So I know it was mentioned earlier that you can count 4,000 level math classes towards, or undergrad 4,000 level math courses towards the graduate degree. Does that extend to other departments, say data science or other courses like that?
So are you a math major who plans to apply to another program for the BSMS? Is that your question? I just want to be clear.
Yeah, so I'm a math major and I'm looking at the industrial math program, and I know it has the module component, so I was wondering if any like 4,000 level classes in other departments I take could count towards that, since I have to take like the module courses anyway, which are interdisciplinary.
So I think that would be up to the department, because I know certain departments, like let's say in civil engineering, their students can take chemical engineering classes and have that apply towards the BSMS plan of study. So really it's up to the department which classes you'd be able to count.
And we've done that.
Sorry, go ahead.
We've done that in the past. So there have been industrial math students who have a module where some of the courses that are non-math are coming from 4,000 level courses from other departments. It's important to recognize that the modules that are listed in the graduate catalog for industrial math are just examples. I've never seen an industrial math degree that was planned exactly as one of the modules is in the graduate catalog. They're all custom jobs. And so I've designed many with students. Students have very specific interests, and we just find the right pairing for the module of a couple math class, 6 credits in math, 6 credits outside of math. And sometimes those are double counting 4,000 level for math or non-math. And then Professor Abraham also works a lot with actuarial students who double count business courses. John, you probably could say more about that. Oh, you're muted, John.
Trying to unmute. Okay. Sorry about that. Following the double counting rules for financial math is the one I'm most familiar with. We often have students who will take 3 business courses, undergraduate business courses, and then can sort of translate that into 2 graduate courses. You know, I missed your question about which program you were applying to. So I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. I think you said data science, but it went a little fuzzy when you were saying that.
Yeah, I was interested in the industrial program and kind of applying to do science information there.
Okay. I can't speak to that as much, but I think we should get an answer to that for you.
Yeah, and you can use other department courses at the 4,000 level to double count. But it's one of those things that you sit down with your advisor and you can sit down with me as well and go over this kind of stuff and design it. And essentially, once you come up with a program, it's like a program proposal on a form called a plan of study. And that is signed by the student, the academic advisor, and then it goes to the department's graduate program committee. And when they approve it, then it's effectively a contract between the department and the student that says, if you do this stuff, then you get the master's degree. And so essentially we design these things, send it to the program committee, and once that's approved, we're good to go.
And Marcel, in some cases, I know students can have the plan revised. Should a class not be offered, or should the student have a medical leave? My understanding is that you usually work with those students to make changes if needed.
That's a very good point. Program revisions do happen. And the most common thing that happens is a student picks out 2 courses in 2 different departments to take. And then when that year comes along, they're offered in the same day at the same time. And then we have to modify it. And that's actually a simple submission of either a new plan of study or a little addendum form that modifies it. And if a student has some type of issue and has to take a leave, students come back. They can come back and continue their work.
Is there any other questions from the participants, students? For instance, about the financial assistance, is it clear which kind of benefits are available?
I have a question, I guess, in the same ballpark as that. Is there a list on the WPI website somewhere of math courses, grad courses offered this summer?
I believe it's on there, the online courses. We just learned this yesterday with our chemistry and biochemistry department presentation. So if you go to the registrar's website, and if you're looking for graduate classes for the summer, make sure you click online classes, because they are only offered online this summer.
Gotcha. Thank you.
There may not be that many for math for this summer, but if you're thinking about any of these programs, a decent number of them also have out-of-departmental electives. So if you have if you are interested in taking a graduate course this summer, there's ways to still, even if the course that we're not, we may not be offering a large variety, but some of the out-of-departmental electives, you might be able to get in one of those over the summer in the online format as well.
Excellent.
We just got a question in the chat box. I'm a math major, but I'm also interested in data science. Would it make more sense for me to do the MS in applied math or in data science?
I think it depends. If I can say something that maybe my colleagues will add, it depends where are your majority of your interest. Both in data science master and in the applied maths master, there are math professors that teach some of the classes. But you will see almost no mathematics in data science, whereas in the master in mathematics, in applied mathematics, you will see a mix of mathematics and some data science as well. So if you're looking for breadth and you want to have some math content, I would recommend the master in applied mathematics. Maybe my colleagues have some other.
Yeah, so I'll just follow up. I think some of the course requirements are going to be a bit different. In math, you can take some of the core kind of data science courses that are hands-on. You look at different statistical packages. You're working with those big data sets. You're analyzing them. The core data science program has a bit more kind of societal business impact side of things. So we're not requiring that, but you can get you can effectively get an applied math degree with a very data science, I guess, concentration. And then you would probably you take courses that maybe have a deeper background into what are the methods that you're using to analyze these data. So you learn how to analyze the data and a bit more of the methods. You could still do a industry themed project on a data science, but I think it really depends on your interest, what you're going for, and there are going to be some differences in the courses and kind of the flavor and how you're, I think the interpretation of the data is a bigger focus in the data science program and kind of ethical implications and how you mine this data.
To Sarah's point, I know there's also a certificate program that the students can complete in conjunction with their graduate degree. I know certain departments really endorse it, that you do, let's say, a degree program in math or data science and do a certificate program in another discipline. Sarah, I'm not sure how you feel about it as the grad program coordinator for math. Would you recommend that they wait till the PhD degree and then do a certificate too, or?
I was like, I'm not aware of a lot of, I think because our programs have a decent amount of flexibility, I don't know that many choose to do a certificate option. Do you know, Marcel, or?
Some students have done the FinTech certificate options in the business school, but that's all I've encountered so far.
Okay, we have another question. Can undergrad scholarships apply towards grad courses or courses that are double counted? I can sort of answer that question. I don't fully understand the question, but what I can tell you is that when you are an undergrad student and you are double counting those classes, you are an undergrad student. So you get everything that goes along with that, which also includes the scholarships that you have. So when you're double counting those classes in your junior or really your senior year, your scholarships stay with that. And you're actually not paying tuition for the graduate classes, the graduate credits that you're getting. But once you graduate and you officially become a master's student, your scholarship as an undergrad will end.
And to Mary's point, this is also why we don't change your status from undergraduate to graduate till you have obtained your bachelor's degree, so your financial aid package does not get affected.
And it's important to recognize that as long as you're admitted to the master's program as a BSMS student, you can take master's and undergraduate courses at the same time, working towards both degree requirements. So there is no requirement that says you have to have your bachelor's, before you take N graduate courses. You can kind of lay out the schedule of the bachelor's and the master's in a way that's best for you.
And we have had students who've been able to complete both degree programs in 4 years. And academic advising.
Math, though, I don't think. Can math do that?
It's hard, but
yeah. Yeah.
Many AP credits, right?
Yeah, it's not possible. Yeah.
Do we have any additional questions?
There is one thing I can add that I mentioned to a lot of my advisees. And it's important to recognize that one extra year to get a master's degree is a really good investment. So when you're in college, a year feels like a long time. Then you'll graduate from college and you'll start a career, and the years will just kind of tick by. And you'll realize later on that 1 year is not really that big of a deal in the span of your life. But if you decide to go to get a master's later when you're working, so you may have a job, a pretty demanding career, you may have a mortgage, you may have a family, you may have a dog, you may have children, you may have all these things that are very demanding on your time. And trying to do a master's degree part-time takes several years, and it's difficult to balance with all those other things. When you're 21, 22, still fresh in your undergrad studies, and also the math is fresh, it helps to go into graduate analysis or measure theoretic probability when you've had real analysis a year or two before. And it gives you that advantage where you can knock it out in a year, and then you have that master's degree going forward. You have a higher level of mathematical maturity, and also it pays dividends later. It makes you more promotable in future jobs, and it just qualifies you for more things. So it's a good use of a year in your early 20s.
We have another question in the.
Okay. I can answer that.
Okay.
So the question is, when applying for the BSMS program, they ask for a transcript of university work. What happens when you are applying as a freshman and you do not have university level work? You cannot apply as a freshman. The way the application works is that the way the terms work, the application will be open for you to apply in the summer of between your sophomore and junior year. So if you were to go in right now and try to apply, you wouldn't be able to, because it asks for the year of that you think you're going to be graduating with your bachelor's degree. And that term is not available yet in the application. So you can certainly start talking about this and talking to your, faculty and thinking about it and planning and all of that. But as far as the actual application, you would be doing this if you're finishing your freshman year now, after July 1st of next year, that's when you would be able to actually complete the application.
I guess I'll just emphasize that, yeah, planning is great. So we're all happy to speak with anybody who's interested, even at the freshman level. The sooner you start planning, especially if you came in with some AP credits, you may actually be able to start thinking about taking some upper level, kind of 3,000-4,000 level classes sooner to get you, next year to get you on track to maybe start putting in some grad courses in your junior year. So you can't quite apply yet, but I think certainly some of the planning, depending on what courses you've taken this year, you might want to chat with one of us additionally at another time to think about planning for courses for next fall and spring to make sure that they're kind of staying in the right path. So we're happy to start on early planning because it just makes everything go so much smoother later on if you're already in the right track of courses to proceed to those upper level courses in the right time frame.
And to go back to the previous question, the university policy is that BSMS students can take up to 4 years to complete the MS portion of the combined program. I'm not sure if the math department feels the same. Some departments feel the students should just complete it in that one extra year. So I guess this is more of a question to Sarah and Marcel, whether or not you allow your students to take a job and complete the MS portion part-time.
Yeah, definitely. That's allowed. There's no rule that it has to be done in 5.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're super excited and we'll work with anybody who gets a great job opportunity to potentially do it on a slightly slower pace after.
And there can be cool opportunities there. We had a student who graduated industrial math maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and she got a job company that was eventually bought by Twitter. And she was doing this kind of mathematical modeling of language processing for them, and they sponsored her project. So she's transitioned to working part-time for them, and then they provided the master's project. I think it took longer than 5 for her.
So there are many options to complete the combined program.
Okay, last opportunity for one more round of questions, if there are any.
And if you have questions for graduate admissions, just grad@wpi.edu. Mary and I are the 2 people who always answer the emails. So you'll get one of us. And, we're happy to follow up on any questions you may have. And if we're not sure of the answer, we'll check with the department.
Okay, I'll wrap it up then. But yes, thank you all for attending. Please feel free to reach out to any one of us in the math department. Even though we're not on campus, we're super happy to answer any emails, have a separate Zoom call to talk about any planning or different options that you may have. So please feel free to reach out to any of us.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye, everyone.